From abandoned Jaguars to abandoned Mustangs, here are your top 10 mysterious abandoned vehicles found in the woods. In our number 10 spot we have the Jag. Yes, I'm referring to a Jaguar. Why in the world someone would desert a beautiful Jag in the woods is beyond me. And it's an oldie too. I tried to do some research and I'm pretty sure it's a 1957 Jaguar XK140, if that means anything to any of you car guys or gals watching out there. Jaguars are on my dream car list, so this just makes me sad to see. I'm gonna make up a story as to why it was here. Once upon a time, a couple in their 40s who were deeply in love went on a Sunday morning cruise. They decided to park and go for a walk in the woods, but suddenly Bigfoot jumped out right in front of them and ate them. That was fun. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up as it really helps us out. In our number 9 spot we have stripped for parts. Here we have a mysterious car in the woods that looks like it has been stripped for parts. Yes, I know this tale. It happened to a friend of mine who owned this car. Yes, times were tough and he realized that he didn't have enough money to buy groceries. Damn. He realized that he had this car. The car as a whole wasn't worth much, but separately the parts were. So he took the car out to the woods with a plan to take it apart. But when he was out there trying to take apart the car, he remembered something that he hadn't thought of before making this plan. He had no muscles. In fact, he was the weakest man in town, and just lifting up the hood was a mission. So he gave up and left the car in the woods. The end. In our number 8 spot we have the clown car. Man, I wish I was a car person so I could tell you what this car is. If there is anyone watching that can name all of the cars on this list accurately, then I will dub you the GOAT of this channel. I shall bow down to you. I can't tell if this car was once orange or white. The orange could be rust, but it's quite vibrant. I'm gonna say there once was an orange car that was obviously driven by a clown that broke down while this clown was on his way to a birthday party. The car was the last straw in a series of unfortunate events that kept happening to him. He decided that this was a sign, and once and for all, he would quit clowning around. And he never looked back. The end. In our number 7 spot we have the traffic jam. Okay, this picture is wild. There are at least 10 or maybe more old cars jammed together in the middle of the forest. What in the world could this be? Either a car dealership owner was just like, hey, Mario, get rid of them, dump them in the wood. That was a horrible Italian accent. Or it was a fine Sunday morning in 1953 and all of the townsfolk from Bennisville, South Carolina were driving to the woods to go to the annual summer picnic. They all parked their cars in the woods and then went on to their lunch. But around 3 p.m. that day, an alien spaceship came to Earth and knocked out the power everywhere, which meant none of the cars worked. All the townspeople had to walk home. So sad. The cars never worked again, and so they left them there. Let me know which story you think would be more likely in the comment section below. I'm going with the latter. In our number 6 spot we have the 90s mom car. This mysterious abandoned car was obviously left behind by a 90s mom who was probably driving with her 2 kids one Friday morning to visit their grandma. With Dunkaroos in hand and Backstreet Boys on the radio, the kids were happy, and if they were happy, she was happy. Finally, she didn't have to hear them whine for 5 minutes. While driving, they spotted a lake with a bunch of swans in it, so they pulled over to get a closer look. She didn't realize until she got back to the car that the gas had been leaking out of the car, and now she was out of gas and couldn't go anywhere. It was cold, so the kids went back to whining. They walked for about 20 minutes to find a payphone when suddenly they saw those big, holy golden arches that bring everyone joy. Hooray, they said. God bless McDonald's. All was well. The end. That's probably what happened. In our number 5 spot we have the Gangster Car. Don't ask me what kind of car this is because the only reply you will get is, a gangster's car? This looks like the kind of car you would see an Italian gangster own in old movies. Who actually owned it and its real story, who knows? It looks like it could have also been owned by Gatsby. Whoever owned it though, most likely was rich, because even if you owned a car during this time, that meant that you had more money than most. There's also a boat beside it that was also seemingly deserted, so I can imagine that clearly whoever owned these very pricey items were discarding them because they were, evidence in a top secret crime committed by the CIA themselves. Yes, this car and this boat is evidence of their involvement in many dirty dealings, and so if you want to once and for all expose the CIA for doing the opposite of what they're meant to do and committing crimes themselves, then go and look for this car and boat. In our number 4 spot, we have the backyard of cars. There is an old abandoned house in the UK with a giant backyard filled with old cars. Why, you may ask? Well, there is actually an interesting story behind it that is supposed to be true. Actually, this one I'm not making up. Apparently the owner was obsessed with the idea of World War III happening, and so he collected a bunch of cars to eventually sell for scrap metal, but unfortunately he passed away, and so the cars and the property have been sitting there abandoned for 20 years. He probably was a fan of John Titor, the time traveler who warned everyone that World War III was coming. Probably. In any case, it's quite the sight to see, as the cars are now covered in rocks and plants and have kind of become one with the earth. Apparently all the cars are classic cars, and even though none of them are extremely rare, it has been said that it is quite the collection to see. In our number 3 spot, we have the garbage car. Okay, this car kind of makes me crazy to look at because it was clearly used to store garbage. But why, I wonder. It looks like it's been stuffed to the rim with paint cans, possibly. Honestly, I don't know what that is. If you can make it out, let me know. Some kind of tin can. It just makes me sad to see. Couldn't they have found a garbage bag to put them in? Why the car? Couldn't they have sold its parts, or at least brought it to a junkyard? Maybe the owner couldn't have and they needed to leave it. I don't know. Maybe underneath those cans though is the skeleton of a body, and that's why they're packed to the rim. To convince people that it's just filled with garbage when really it's covering up a crime. Dun dun dun. In our number 2 spot, we have the Mustang. This abandoned car has created a bit of an uproar online, as Mustang lovers are quite hardcore, or so I have now learned. Again, not too much of a car person, so this is news to me, but yeah, this car being deserted has made people sad. I wish I could tell all of you Mustang lovers where it is so you could go and see it, but sadly no location to report. It's probably hidden deep in the woods where no one can find it because its owner was so obsessed with it that he thought if he couldn't drive it, then no one can. And on that train of thought, he thought no one should be able to see it as well. It was his precious. In our number 1 spot, we have the vibrant blue car. This vibrant blue car that's been abandoned looks like it was possibly a part of a crash. The angle of the picture isn't great, so it's kind of hard to see if it actually crashed into the back of perhaps a green car in front of it or not. You can't really tell. However, the hood of the car looks like it's dented slash bending upwards, if that makes sense, which would indicate a crash. Also, I'm not sure if those are airbags that have blown up in the car, but it sure looks like it could be. Either that, or there is just a lot of garbage that has piled up in the car from over time. In any case, it looks like it was quite the pretty car in its prime. I'm not one to like colored cars, honestly. I like your basic black or white, but this blue is really pretty. I would never ever buy a car this color, but I can admire it from afar. I'm Melissa Mulati, your host, and I hope that you have a good day, sir.